So the cool new thing right now is to mount your lasers at the center of your rifle, and as a result there's a lot of companies that came up with these mounts to let you do that. And some of the examples are JagerWorks, HRF Concept, GBRS, and a bunch of knockoff Amazon companies that copy the real thing at a much lower price point. And I decided to get a couple just to test them out and see how they work. So the first one I got was the HRF Concept SKIFF, which mounts to my already existing Unity mount. And the next one is the GBRS HYDRA clone, which I got on Amazon for 50 bucks. The original is like 325 bucks. Originally they were like 500 bucks. And fun fact, the knockoff uses a stronger aluminum than the original one. So take that for what it is. And I'll go over the laser that I used for my tests next. Alright, the laser I used was the respectable DBAL D2, which many will say is the best civilian laser you can get for the money. And it also has a leaf sight installed as well. And it's a heavier laser, so in this particular instance, mounting the laser at the center makes a lot of sense because it distributes the weight better. And for the switch, I'm using a Unity TAPS version 3 with the 9-inch cable leads. And I got this because I wanted to make sure that the cables were long enough because the laser is going to be mounted in the center. But I also got the GBRS Unity Special Axon with the 10-inch cable leads. And I got this because if I wanted to mount my laser at the center for like a 16-inch rifle or a 14.5, I wanted to make sure that I had enough cable to make that work. And only GBRS sells these. Unity does not sell it on its own for some reason, even though they make it. Alright, so let's talk about configuration 1. So this is one of 4 configurations that I tried out using the SKIFF, HYDRA clone, and the 2 different switches I have. And the first one is the GBRS Axon 10-inch crane lead for the switch with the DBAL D2 on the HRF Concept SKIFF. And immediately I saw an issue. So when I go to activate the switch, I notice that my thumb is immediately going to get in the way of the illuminator. And because the SKIFF sits kind of low, even though it is slightly raised, my thumb is going to get in the way when I have the illuminator on the wider setting. I think for the narrow setting, it barely clears, which I'll show you later on in this video. But it definitely gets in the way, so that's an issue. And I also wanted to show you what it looks like from behind the red dot of how much the DBAL D2 blocks the red dot sight. So you can see the leaf sight on there as well, and you can see that it partially blocks the red dot, the window of the red dot. So it's not a big deal for me, but it may be an issue for others. And again, just a different view. It does block it a little bit, and even though I have the leaf sight, I don't have a rear sight, so I'm not really sure how much good that'll do for backup iron sights. And here is a video of me testing out the illuminator with configuration 1. So at the narrowest beam, it's fine, it clears my thumb. But you'll see that as the beam gets wider, my thumb definitely gets in the way. So you can see that right there. It kind of blocks the, partially blocks the illuminator. And as you get wider, it becomes more of an issue. You get more of a half moon effect. And at the widest setting, that is when you notice it the most. Alright, so not great. So let's try a different configuration. This is configuration 2 with the Axon mounted at the 45-degree angle, again with the SKIFF and my 10.5 upper. And immediately I can tell that it's better because when I use my support hand, my thumb naturally falls into place on top of the pad and the button. However, it created another issue as a result in the form of cable management. Because the leads come out in the front, it creates these snag hazards that you'll probably need to secure with some tape or some zip ties. I prefer that they made a version where the leads came out from the rear, like they did with the Unity taps. So it's something that you have to deal with, but it's not a deal breaker. You can easily get some tape and just fix it, or some zip ties. But let's see what it looks like under the Psionics and see if it's actually any better. Alright, this is with the narrowest beam. Looks pretty good. No issue here. And let's open it up a little bit and see how it looks. Alright, still looks good, not bad. My thumb is not in the way. Let's open it up some more. Alright, maybe my thumb is in the way a little bit here, but still not too bad. And at the widest is the worst because, you know, even if you have the laser mounted forward instead of at center line, at the widest, you're probably gonna have some obstruction. And let's try configuration 3 next. So configuration 3 is with the Unity taps 9-inch leads with the DBAL D2 on a GBRS HYDRA clone with the same upper. And same thing, you're going to see that the red dot is partially obstructed by the DBAL. I'll show you another view later. And one thing I did notice was that the HYDRA mount lets the laser sit a little higher. And with this mount, you have to use the factory QD of the DBAL D2. On the SKIFF, you mount the laser directly onto the SKIFF with the provided screws, but on this one, you have to use the factory QD. And you have the 9-inch taps right there. And let's see if it actually clears the illuminator in the next video. But before we go to the illuminator video, take a look at the red dot from behind. Again, not as bad as the SKIFF, a little lower, but still obstructs the view of the red dot, just partially. Okay, this is configuration 3 under the Psionics. Let's have a look. Alright, narrowest beam, looks good. Alright, let's open it up a little bit. Alright, it's not bad, but you could kind of see that the thumb still gets in the way. And let's open it up some more. Yeah, definitely gets in the way. So the 45-degree angle will probably be the preferred method also with the taps, even though you have a mount that lets the laser sit a little higher. Yeah, open it up some more. Yeah, definitely gets in the way. So mounted at the 45 is the answer. Okay, with configuration 4, this is the final configuration. I went back to the Axon because I noticed that the taps pad sits slightly higher than the Axon pad, so I wanted to see if it does a better job of clearing the illuminator. But just keep in mind, even though it clears it at like the semi-widest setting, if you go full wide with the illuminator beam, the top of the Axon is going to get in the way, so there's no way to really avoid that. So again, mounted at the 45. But let's take a look. Alright, so at the tightest, pretty good. Alright, open it up a little bit more. It still looks good. So it does clear it better, slightly. But, you know, as you open it up even more, you could kind of see the edge of my thumb getting in the way, or maybe the top of the Axon. And at the widest, yeah, just gonna get in the way, can't avoid it. So there it is. So let's talk about cost, because mounting your laser at the center of your rifle turns out to be pretty expensive. So for configuration 1 and 2, I spent $307 on brand new gear before tax and shipping. Configuration 3 and 4, I saved a little money by getting the tap switch used and getting the clone mount instead of the actual GBRS HYDRA mount. The actual one is $325. Before that, it was $500, and the clone ones, at least some of them, use stronger aluminum than the real one. So the clone ones use 7075 aluminum, and the actual ones use 6061, which is a weaker type aluminum than the 7075. And the build quality of the clone ones is good and has screws that seem okay. So I can't really justify spending the money getting a real one, but that's just me. If it's really important for you to get the real one, go for it. It's just not for me. So I'm not really sure as to whether it makes sense price-wise to mount your laser at the center rather than just keeping it forward and spending your money on ammunition and training. But again, it's really up to you. So some closing thoughts. I did like that the rifle felt more balanced after using these mounts. It did help to shift the weight of the laser from the front to the middle of the rifle, creating a much more balanced platform. However, I think this is a case of a solution looking for a problem. There was never an issue with mounting your laser forward. It's nice to have the laser mounted centerline so that the weight is distributed better, but I don't think it's worth the price or the time spent trying to configure a rifle to make this work. And the time and money would be better spent on training and ammunition. But ultimately, it's your time and money, so spend it as you want to. Alright, if you like this video, give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.